Hello and good evening and welcome to SportOn. It's that time of the week where we sit back and discuss what's been going on in the world of sports. And I tell you what, last week was great as far as sports was concerned. What about this past weekend? We've got a new sheriff in town. Kevin Kiptum is the new world marathon record holder, and we'll be touching on his exploits slightly later on. But before then, breaking news earlier on this evening, because Kenya apparently is now not only going to host the AFCON 2027, but there are plans for it to host 3 tournaments as we get closer to AFCON 2027. So not only are we getting ready to host the rest of Africa, in a year's time, we have a dress rehearsal. Before then, you've got Sekafa. Before then, you've got the schools tournament. So it's set to be a really busy week. Now, like I told you last week, my co-pilot, Mr. Banandong, is still away. And in his place, like we said, super sub, like for like, Mr. Kwalimwa. Yes. Karibu sana.
Yep.
Breaking news coming into this evening. So not only is Kenya doing Pamoja bid with AFCON, Chan is coming to East Africa in a year's time.
Yes, exciting moments for sports fans in Kenya and East Africa, football fans as well, because it's quite a lot. You'll allow me to read a dispatch from Cabinet just this evening that Kenya will, of course, be hosting the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations. That is confirmed, sealed. Apart from that, the Kenya has been selected to host the 2024 Africa Nations Championship. Of course, you know, that's the younger sibling of AFCON. Yes. It's a tournament involving footballers playing in their respective local leagues. So they will be coming to Kenya next year in September to exercise their talents in this tournament. Apart from that as well, the Sekafa Under-18 Championships, as you rightly put it. Then we have the 2020, we have the AFCON Under-15 also is going to be held in Nairobi, and the Sekafa Region Championship. This should be the Sekafa Senior Challenge Cup. So a couple of football tournaments coming to Kenya in between now and 2027, and there's no other word you can use apart from excitement.
Why do you think this has happened? I mean, we all knew Pamoja bid is here, AFCON 2027 is coming. But how come now we've got Chan?
Two things. One, Chan looks like nobody wanted to host it really, because if it is up until this point in 2023 October, and we're discussing 2024, and the Confederation of African Football, who are the tournament organizers, had not settled on a host up until now, then it shows that there was not much interest in this tournament. So Kenya coming in to host possibly takes the backlog of CAF and also gives Kenya an opportunity to prepare for the AFCON, which is a bigger tournament. So it's a like event and a win-win situation for both Kenya and the Confederation of African Football. That's one. Two, also it gives an opportunity for Kenya to put a lot of things in place. I anticipate CAF will relax some rules of hosting this tournament,
yes,
and maybe look for stadiums that are not quite ready to host, because it's a win-win situation, as I told you.
Yeah, it's interesting so that, because from what I could gather is that it would be Tanzania with 2 stadiums, Kenya with 1 stadium, and Uganda with 1 stadium, just for Chan next year. And like you said, you need stadiums, and if I just read, you need category 4 stadium, which currently we do not have any. So maybe in a year's time, would we have maybe moved one of Nyayo or Kasarani into a category 4, or will CAF be like, no, it's okay, you can use it as a category 3-ish?
Kasarani looks like almost a sure bet, because what lacks at Kasarani Stadium to be able to host a continental assignment is very little. Maybe the dressing rooms, a little bit of the media tribunal, and just a few things here and there. Yeah, and maybe the floodlights. So that can be spruced up quick enough. I don't think there's quite some work to be done at Nya and Kipchoge Keino Stadium in Eldoret. And of course, earlier today, the president said in Kisumu that there are considerations for some of the AFCON matches to be staged in Kisumu. But I'll put more or less a sure bet on Kasarani.
And they've spoken about Talanta, the stadium as well, at Jamhuri. You had said that you are not sure that will happen. It seems to be one thing that, yes, this is going to happen.
It's not in the bid tournament. It's not in the bid document that I shared with you, which, you know, Talanta game, the AFCON games being held at the Talanta Stadium, it's not there. So it's more or less a bonus from where I sit. If the stadium is ready enough by the time AFCON comes knocking, good enough. If it's not, there are other opportunities in place. Remember, Kenya just needs 3 stadiums. And as we're going right now, we're talking about 5 stadiums if Kisumu is added onto the roster.
All in all, what is it football has done to the government? Why does it enjoy such goodwill? I mean, athletics is this country's #1 sport. It doesn't seem to enjoy the kind of goodwill, because remember, this has not come from CAF. This is from a cabinet paper. So what is this thing football is doing with the government that they're in favor of government so much?
I think firstly it's more or less a political decision. Football is a mass game that attracts a very many number of people into the stadium, and it has a lot of untapped talent as well. So I'm looking at it like the government is looking at football as an entry point to really bring up talent, make sure the talents are exposed, spruce up the infrastructure, make everything coming into place. We're also from a political season where probably the country is a little bit divided, and the government is probably going to use football to try and unify the country, make the country speak in one voice. And when we're done with all this, hopefully successfully, and arrive on the other side of the tunnel, it's going to be a good positive story to look backwards. Because remember as well, it's very good to note that Kenya has missed out on these opportunities in the recent past, even after being awarded the hosting rights. So with this being discussed as high up as the cabinet level, looks like a seriousness is coming in from the government in terms of hosting these tournaments.
Of course, Kenya, they are missing the chance to host the 96 AFCON and the CHAN 2018. In the next 3 years, Kenya has got 2 chances. CHAN 2024 and, of course, AFCON 2027. The one place Kwalimu, I think, has missed out on all this is Mombasa. Because I was feeling like, if you're going to have this many tournaments in Kenya, surely you've got to go to Mombasa. Because if you do a really nice stadium in Mombasa and put a track, it also gives you a chance to host, to bid, for example, for the World Athletics Championships.
Such a disappointment because Mombasa, you know, there's Diani Beach, there's beaches in Kwale, Lamu. Diani, of course, having been voted severally as one of the best tourist destinations in Africa. And I'm sure very many visitors coming into Kenya will have wanted to sample the white beaches in Diani and Mombasa, even as they watch football tournaments. There has been a lot of noise coming out of Mombasa in recent times. The governor of Mombasa, Abdul Somad Nasir, I hope I got that right, saying that we could try and see if we can get a stadium into place. Of course, the county government of Mombasa on itself cannot manage to put up a stadium in Mombasa for that game. So it will have to be talks between the national government and the county government. Looking at the time frame of that, looks like the train has passed them, but just, you never know.
Staying with football, this past weekend, the biggest game in Kenyan football, Kogalo versus Ingwe. Really, really good game. In the end, AFC Leopards really not at the races. Gor won. What's the fallout from that game? Because we all know everyone waited for the game, the fans came out, but in the end there is fallout. I'm hearing rumors, I'm hearing murmurs.
Yeah. I'm surprised if Tom Juma still has his job, the FC Leopards coach. He's had a very disappointing start to the season up until now. He's not won any of his last 7 games up until this point. So there are reports that he's lost his job. Not just him. There are reports of really a whitewash of the technical bench, probably save for the assistant coach Fred Ambani. The CEO as well of the club, I'm told, is leaving the club as it is. Nothing official as at now, but there are also murmurs coming out of Europe that Thomas Tuchel, you might remember him, a Croatian coach, could be coming in to take over from Tom Juma. Either way, Leopards just need a very big rebirth. They need a lot of things to change because the season has been one of the worst for them in the last 2 decades.
Kwalimu, Tom Juma is coach number 28? 28 since 2009? Something like that. Maybe I could be wrong. The figure might be wrong, but it's something between 28 and 29 since 2009. At some point, someone has got to figure out this doesn't work.
I think, with all due respect, I think the management of FC Leopards have to have a hard look at themselves. They've really failed the clubs considering the resources they have, the popularity the club has, the goodwill the club has from politicians and corporates. They really need to be doing much better. Look, James, there are very many teams with much lesser resources that are doing much better in the Kenyan Premier League or even in Africa. FC Leopards have consistently failed to just even compete for a league title in the last 10, 15 years. You can't imagine. You have to go back to 1998. The last time FC Leopards won a league title. When I was a
struggling teenager.
Yes, when Daniel Moi was still the president of Kenya. It just beats logic onto how that happens, and the management coming up with excuse after excuse and thinking that reshuffling the technical bench after every 6 or 7 games is the solution. I think they have to lock themselves in a room somewhere and have a hard look at themselves and possibly even quit.
Kwalimu, we are sticking to football because it's been a football-heavy weekend. Harambee Stars as a squad, they are off to play Russia. Again, a bit of disquiet, people wondering. We've seen the team that has been picked, but a few surprises maybe, a few people unhappy maybe that they don't see the mix they'd like to see. What did you make of that traveling squad?
Yes, the squad just arrived in Turkey, by the way, this evening. They're going to camp there for a week ahead of playing Russia, which is a team banned by FIFA, by the way. So I don't know how that is going to work out with Kenya playing against a team that is not recognized by FIFA, of course, because of political reasons and other factors. But you're right, Ovelo Ochieng, if I just on top of my mind, he's not played so much football of late. He makes the squad. Daniel Sakari, the right back as well, makes the squad. He's not played a much football. He's even a bench. He's not even a starter at his club in the Kenyan Premier League. So very many questions coming up, but the one that really makes one think twice is Benson Omala. I don't know what he might have to do to get himself into the squad, and that is not even the interesting part of it. I'm just working on a story right now where his father has given an interview with The Nation, and he's saying he thinks there's something sinister about it. He thinks his son is not getting the credit it deserves, and he's even gone on to make some controversial comments. The fact that he thinks that some players in the squad have made it hard, not by performance, but by other means for his son not to get into the squad. So that's very interesting, and we're going to be following up on that because I really think he has a case.
Well, so that's Harambee Stars there. They play Russia, and like Walimwa says, bit of questions about who's in the squad, who's not in the squad. But you know what? It wouldn't be Kenyan football if you didn't have such kind of questions. Now, let's just remind you of the question of the day. And the question of the day, the question we've been asking you to talk about today, has something to do with what happened yesterday. Yes, there it is on your screens. Is Kevin Kiptum the new king of marathon running? Is Kevin Kiptum, 23-year-old, 2:00:35, smashed the world record on Sunday? Is he the new king of marathon running? Please keep talking to us at NTV Kenya, at Jay Wakabi, at Kwalimwa David, and we'll sample some of your comments about what you think, because this really was the event of the weekend. Everything was all about this young man. He came out, he said he'd do something, and he went ahead and did it. And that is where we take our conversation tonight, because yes, we've got a new sheriff in town. His name is Kevin Kiptum. And with us in the studio to discuss this is Coach Ben Ouma, a man who knows all about training world-class athletes, world champions. Coach Ben, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks a lot, Jim.
And karibu back to Nairobi.
Asante.
And we've got Robert Ruto, a man who I was looking for the apt name to use for you, Robert, and I said an athletic enthusiast and fanatic and fan. Am I right?
I'm actually more than that.
Yes.
I've actually been following athletics passionately for, I would say, since I was a little boy. I remember conversations between my parents when watching Munich 72. And I could overhear Kipchoge Keino or Ben Kipcho. That got me really, really fascinated. And from that point in time, I really got hooked into the sports.
So let's talk about yesterday, gentlemen. Kevin Kiptum, 2:00:35. Just how impressive was that run? How great was that run, Coach?
Sports, from the social perspective, is supposed to be entertaining. It's no war. People are supposed to be celebrating. So that was good. He prepared very well, and he showcased what he's good at by winning the marathon, and he was surprised as well that he broke the record.
Mm. What did you make of his whole approach to the race? Because he looked, from as early as 10K, he was already inside world record pace, and he was leaving his pacers behind. Like by 12, 13K, it was Mateiko, him, and one pacer. How ready do you have to be able to be that far ahead, even of the guys who are supposed to help you get to the world record?
Athletics, and more so like a marathon, is more strategical than tactical. So you walk to the starting line with a predetermined, because you feel your body. I'll have plan A and plan B. If I wake up good, this is my plan A, and I'll go with it. Pacemaker has a planned, because they are timed as well. And probably you may look at your watch, and for them to run like that, there's a lot of race simulations done in training. So you don't just wake up one day and start running. So the practice well, it has been rehearsed well, and I think he believed in himself. And that comes again to the mental preparedness and toughness, and he delivered. And of course, there's a lot of background, history, information, preparation. To go and win a marathon takes a lot of time, and a lot of teamwork as well, and a lot of planning into training, into nutrition, into recovery, into the shoe, the technology. It is a whole lot of companies working as a team.
Robert, you're seated there, you're watching Kevin do his thing, and he is absolutely flying, especially from the halfway mark. He loves the second half of the race. What did you think of the way he performed yesterday and the manner in which he broke that world record?
Well, it was absolutely amazing, and I would say it never came as a complete surprise to me, because his progression, even though it just goes back probably 3-4 years, it's been amazing. He runs what we call negative splits.
Yep.
Ran right through from Valencia in 2022. He clocked 61.42 for the first half and 60.11 for the second half. Right through to London this year, he clocked 60.48 for the first half and 59.47 for the second half. This is a guy who is, I would term him as a precocious talent. He probably is not aware of the magnitude of what he's just about to do. It reminds me of Daniel Komen back then. Daniel Komen would say, I don't want to be given time trials. Just tell me to run, and I'll run fast. Yeah. So
yeah,
I
he
see
used
him
to say, tell me faster or slower.
or slower. So I draw parallels between Kelvin and Daniel Komen. This is precocious talent, a bit scary though, because these guys can achieve completely, performances out of this world, because they probably don't have limits at all.
You've just spoken about the fact that his rise has been quick. I mean, we can trace him back to when he was 18 years old, 5 years ago, 1 half marathon in Eldoret. Yes. In the last 1 year, he now owns 3 of the 6 fastest times ever in the marathon. Like, ever in the history of marathon running. He's run 3 marathons under 2:02. It's mind-boggling how a young man is able to do that quickly.
It's amazing because I think he's very much fired up. I think he's also keeping an eye on, the other groups that training around the area that he trains. He trains in a place called Chepkorio, which is in Keio South, which is it's laid back. And he works very hard. Guys, they work very, very hard. They don't have the luxuries of the big camps. So guys that work, they go 150%. Yeah. So this guy is so fired up. He is not even, basically is not really aware of what he's achieving. I think he's going to do more. I'm seeing him going under 2 in a conventional marathon.
Coach, I mean, when I was learning how to write, I was taught about progression and how you're able to track an athlete going all the way from when they start all the way to them getting to their peak. Now, he seems to have gone against every single thing that I was taught. Like, you see someone start. This is a man we've got no record of him running in high school. We've got no record of him running in juniors. We've got no record of him running anywhere on the track. And then, bang, 2:01.53, 2:01.25, 2:00.35. Could this whole country have missed such a precocious talent all the way?
Speaking as a scientist now, see, running as a skillful event has got a level of fitness, which is physical and mental. And each and every event, because running is more of distance from, you've just mentioned track into half, into full, have a lot of various physiological demands. Probably it's a special species, with a lot of gray areas. And there's very little literature in athletics as far as science is concerned. So that leaves us again with a lot of speculations. And of course, probably Calvin maybe know enough history, probably by not being followed, or maybe he's not speaking a lot. But yes, if you look at that, you see there are a lot of biological markers for you to run that kind of time. And running as an adaptable sport, because these are human participants, these are human beings, requires a lot of progression and a lot of stepwise into this. Maybe that's what we can give him an opportunity to give us a background through his coach, because I've never heard about his coach, but he's such an amazing guy, seeing that he ran very well. And maybe because Kenya is category A, then a lot of questions are being asked, and this is delaying congratulatory messages to him as well. But I think we need to give him credit for that hard work that he did yesterday. And I'm so happy that this is another Kenya coming into the shoe Eliud Kipchoge. You're talking of kingdomship? No, there's a long way to go. This involved a lot of consistency, longevity in the running, a lot of many factors to look at that. So we need to give him time. The time will tell whether he can do that much. But as for yesterday, his performance was amazing and entertaining.
Talking of entertaining and fantastic performance, how does Sifan Hassan move from 2 medals in Budapest in 1,500 meters and 5,000 meters? 43 days later, she runs the second fastest marathon of all time. I agree we are living in new age time, but Robert, how does that happen?
If you look at the story of Sifan, Sifan has been Sifan is absolutely resilient and she's versatile, and it's not surprising at all. Yeah, Sifan pushes boundaries, and she pushes herself to to breaking point. And we've seen, I mean, as we've following athletics for a long time, she has had so many problems as well. She had paid the price, like what you saw in Budapest, but she keeps pushing herself. Yeah, we've in fact even said you can destroy Sifan, but you cannot defeat her. You saw what happened yesterday. So Sifan is a very special athlete, and we have to give it to her every time.
Coach, how is she able to manage both? Because from my understanding, preparing for a marathon is very different from preparing for track. How is she able to switch, like, oh, I've switched, I'm now on track, I get 2 medals, then I switch back and I run to 13:44?
You see, human beings are quite unique, and there are a lot of variables in terms of muscular structures as well. Historically, Sifan Hassan was under Alberto Salazar. I happened to be in Doha World Championships, and I saw something peculiar that I've never seen. They finished competition, and then they were doing intervals immediately with Alberto on the track. And then that same night, his accreditation was cancelled and it was whisked away due to some issues of doping. So you call Sifan special, I will have doubts on that one. Scientifically, we know what has been going on with that same group. That's one. 2, in terms of progression, yes, there is enough data from track, from 800 meters, 15, 5, 10, into half and full marathon. Could have been aggressively, but probably the foundation was made like that. And yeah, she's where she is. She's very strong, with a lot of support as well, scientifically, heavily scientifically. And a lot of
when you say scientific, what do you mean, Coach?
See, I don't have proof to this.
Yeah. But what are you thinking about? What's your thought based on?
Probably they're having the latest approach in a number of angles, and our science work for you to run very well and fast. Unlike generically we train here, we don't have a lot of access to better technology as well. And some of us is raw talent here. If you look Sifan walking and you're asked to do scouting, you may pass her for the best athlete for you. Yeah. This is quite rugged, and morphologically, if you're looking at somebody to pick, you'll pass and pick the next person. Because of course, you look at somebody and say, oh, this can be a very good thrower, a jumper, a runner. She is Sifan Hassan. But probably there are a lot of stuff. She's great. If you can spot greatness in her, then she's a very great athlete. The way she prepares, that's good as well. We don't have a lot of historical, I mean, we have some historical background about it.
Yes.
That's what brings the question mark about
yes.
it. But in terms of resilience, hard work, and the way she's determined in training, I saw her when we were in Budapest. She was alone. After training, she was doing some intervals at the warm-up track, and we were sharing the warm-up track. I mean, that is a special person. Maybe that's the system that the coach set up on her, and is working very well for her. You see, in coaching, there are a lot of trial and errors. You may find one working for you, another one is not working for you. And that's why the training programs are malleable and not one size fits all. So probably what she's doing is working for her, and I would encourage her to keep on doing that one, if it is a legit thing that she's doing.
Yo, so that's Sifan Hassan, of course, 2:13.44. She was absolutely in a class of her own. And like we said in the men's, Kelvin Kiptum setting a new world record, 2 hours, 35 seconds. And like Robert says, quite possibly the guy who's going to go under 2 hours in an official race. We're taking a break. When we come back, we continue this conversation and find out what are some of these other factors. Coach has alluded about it. How about the shoe? How about technology? How about maybe different ways of training? All that and more in just a bit.
Raised by secrets.
There's a lot going on at the moment in this house.
Their true identity is uncovered in the brand new unmissable Zari. Starts 23 October. Only on Maisha Magic Plus, channel 163 on DSTV Access, GoTV Plus, channel 3.
If you hate that woman with a burning passion, then why did you decide to marry her?
I want to make Diego suffer.
So that means it wasn't your plan to eliminate your brother?
Why would I do that, Grandpa? I'm not a murderer.
Please spare me your sarcasm, Tadeo. If you felt threatened by what you saw, let me assure you that I respect our agreement.
If what we have here is nothing more than a legal agreement, then I'd rather not be with you at all.
I have nothing to figure out. We can end this right here, right now.
Head over heels.
Introducing the East African Entrepreneurship Conference and Expo, hosted in the heart of the Democratic Republic of Congo from October 31st to November 2nd, 2023. Proudly presented by Nation Media Group. Unleash the potential of East African entrepreneurship as you connect with visionary minds, explore untapped markets, and forge lucrative trade partnerships. Whether you're poised to conquer the vibrant business landscape of the DRC or eager to expand your footprint across East Africa, this event is your gateway to success. For comprehensive details and registration, call Joanne on 0724 661 440 or email jmasika@ke.nationmedia.com.
As a man, the way I handle my finances is more about thinking of the future. So as a young person who has had a father, it's thinking of the long game. So every penny that I get right now is going straight to my savings, hopefully to get more so that I can invest it. So I think as a man, that's how most of us think. Kama ufikiri hivyo, kuna kashida mahali. My name is Kevin Miner. I'll see you on the 3rd edition of the Man Cave on 28th of October. I can't wait. It's a man's affair. So see you then.
If you hate that woman with a burning passion, then why did you decide to marry her?
I want to make Diego suffer.
So that means it wasn't your plan to eliminate your brother?
Why would I do that, Grandpa? I'm not a murderer.
Please spare me your sarcasm, Tadeo. If you felt threatened by what you saw, let me assure you that I respect our agreement.
If what we have here is nothing more than a legal agreement, then I'd rather not be with you at all.
I have nothing to figure out. We can end this right here, right now.
Head over heels.
I'm very excited to introduce Ushidi Gardens Nakuru. This property is developed by Optiven and we are doing compacted maram roads. We plant the trees, fence the property. So please call this number 0790 300 300. Optiven, we have you covered.
Welcome back to SportOn, a night in which we are dissecting what happened in the city of Chicago. Kevin Kiptum setting a world record, and then Sifan Hassan blowing away the field. Our very own Ruth Chepngetich was second, but she was so far behind. As was Benson Kipruto, by the way, almost maybe 3 minutes behind Kiptum. But yes, once again, another solid outing from Benson. He's one of those consistent, solid guys. And speaking of the marathon has undergone this growth and progression in the last 20 years, if you think about it. If you go back to the days Paul Tergat set the first record at 2:04.55, guys, and then you look at the progression from then, 2:04.55, Haile came in, Macau came in, Wilson came in, all the way to Kevin. Coach, that improvement has been exceptional. Why is that? Why has that happened? Especially maybe in the last 5 years.
I'll give you a scenario of two sets of marathoners. You find them having a very strong background on the track. And if you look that kind of breed, the longevity is amazing. And Kelvin is now another study as well, just straight into half and then marathons. And again, that depends again on the preparation. And again, we don't have records about that. So unless probably he speaks on interviews, maybe we can tell. So, but you see, at the moment we celebrate, that doesn't stop us from asking how was your preparation, when did you start running, how has your journey been, which is very good as well.
Yes.
And just like Eliud, and I'm not saying I'm doubting Kiptum, no, I'm not. But from a technical perspective, such data probably they are somewhere. Maybe you need to reach on those data. And then
I'll tell you what, Coach. I'll give you an idea of what his coach said, because his coach was interviewed on AFP and he gave some of the numbers he goes on. But let's just have a look at the way the marathon's world record has progressed over the past 20 years. Like I said, from Paul Tergat in September 2003, all the way to where we are now. First was Paul, then was Haile with 2:04.26. Then Haile 2:03.59 was so celebrated because he went under 2:04. And then Macau showed up, surprised him in Berlin in 2011, 3 years later. And then Wilson Kipsang 2:03.23 in Berlin in 2013. And then after that was the turn of Dennis Kimeto, 2:02.57, September 28, 2014. And then Eliud himself took over 2 world records in 2018 and 2022 before Kevin Kiptum. Robert, how much of this improvement, especially in the last 5-6 years, has anything to do with technology?
Obviously, you cannot discount technology, especially shoe technology. It's been amazing how shoe technology has helped, in terms of the performance. Yeah, but again, you cannot just point it. You cannot actually pin it on the shoe technology alone. You remember Kipchoge said, if you don't put in the work, the shoe will not help you. So what I see is that the shoe just comes in as to facilitate, but it's not in itself a major factor.
I'm just thinking, when Kiptum did what he did in Chicago, and then the other day it was Kipchoge in Berlin. Already we're getting the story of the prince, the king. The prince is Kiptum, Kipchoge is the king. Before maybe Kiptum takes over from Kipchoge, and it's not going to be easy. There's going to be a matchup, maybe very, very soon. How do you see that going? Because it's going to be probably, let's look at it, Paris 2024. Kiptum is in the team. Kipchoge is in the team. We're good to go. How do you see that going competition-wise before, probably because Kipchoge being 36, 37, 38, he might not be there forever. How do you see that matchup before Kiptum becomes the king?
I don't think you want to put Kipchoge and Kiptum head on.
Why not?
Head to head.
Yep.
There are a number of factors here, and all of them are amazing road runners, marathoners. Kipchoge is a special guy. If you look at her personality, if you look at how he speaks, how he resonates with the public, his human skills is so up. And look at his longevity. He is actually the longest, one of the longest runners we have now. 20 years probably.
Yep, 20 years at the top.
2 or 3 was in the World Championship, winning medals. Paris, yeah. 2 or 3. Probably Kiptum was,
was 3 years old.
3 years old.
Or 3 years old.
Yeah.
Do you want to put them head to head and train? Kiptum has got his opportunity. He's knocked at the door and the door is opening. He has to build his path. He has to build his history. He has to convince us that I want to take the throne. When the king will retire, then I'll pick it from him. But speaking that he's the king now, I think that's a little bit misplaced. If we are talking realistically, and because they know they're all our brothers, they're all our people, we have them here. If by any instance Kipchoge passes through town walking, there will be a standstill. If by any instance Kiptum will pass, nobody will notice him. So you see, these are natural and they take time to build on this. You cannot just buy it along the way. You have to work hard to get it. So Kiptum has a long way. Yes, yesterday was his day. Records are there to be broken. If you break it so much, then probably people will lose interest. But if it takes time, then people are hungry, people are anxious. We've been waiting for this record. We got it. Look at Faith breaking the 2 records. When she arrived here, the president invited her to the State House. And look at the incentive and rewards. He was given money, she was given money and a house to keep to that. And we're very happy to associate ourselves with them. So doing comparison of these athletes with their peculiar and their different people altogether, we may miss the point and we may miss the celebratory moment that comes with it.
I want to stick to the shoe because Robert says the shoe does something but not so much. What do you attribute this progression of the marathon record? You've seen the men there. You've seen the women as well. The women, for the longest time, everyone thought Paula Radcliffe's record is way out of touch. Then all of a sudden, Bridget has touched it, and then now Tigista Sefa has gotten it. Now Sifan is at 2:13:44. How much do we attribute the shoe? How much of it is the shoe? How much of it is modern ways of training? How much of it is just the talent of the athletes?
Talent is one thing, but talent without work does not score. I'll speak a little bit about the shoe. I've been involved in Nike doing tests, doing research on the shoes, where I provide some of my athletes to do the spikes, for example, the 1500 meters, since we've been controlling for many years. It takes time to come up with a prototype shoes. This is supposed to cushion you. And more so in marathon, the effect is so significant because I don't know how long you've run, James. What is your longest distance?
10.6 kilometers and I was dead.
And you were dead.
Yes.
You could feel how your body is.
Yes.
So this is supposed to cushion you. This is supposed to protect you as well when you're running. Just a little bit. You see, a little bit of energy when you're running is huge and quite significant. So the shoe, they have airbags. So you spend less time on the ground. Of course, you're not a sprinter that you'll be running so fast, but every step counts. Every energy you're saving will help you from the 25. They say the 35 kilometers where the marathon starts from.
Yeah.
So that's where now the shoes are working. So you are eating into the marathon time day in, day out. Of course, this comes with a lot of hard work before. In fact, twice hard work if you want to run very well. Then with the shoe it is, so yes, so the shoe is quite significant. They're regulated, they are not illegal because the World Athletics has put markers. There's a particular thickness that you need to have for you to be allowed. At the moment, we've been testing the shoe for Paris 2024, the spikes for Paris 2024. We tested it last year into this year as a prototype, and we are not allowed to use it in the World Championship in Budapest. It will be launched, it will be in the shelf, it will be used the following day. One thing about Kiptum again, and maybe history will tell us, what is his shelf life? Let's see.
Yeah.
Then we start questioning science, we start writing articles, and then we do whatever can be done.
So that's us. Yes, Robert.
Yeah. Just picking up from Bernard about Kiptum. This is a very special talent, yeah, because if you look at his progression, even though it's a very short span of time, he started off with a debut of 2:1:53 in Valencia in 2022. No one has ever debuted at 2:1:53, which is amazing. So if you look at Kiptum versus Eliud Kipchoge, I think this young man, if well guided, is going to achieve even more.
I've got a question though, and,
Yes.
and I wanted to move away from Kiptum, but you've taken me back there.
Yeah.
How did a whole country miss such precocious talent, as you call it? Like, because normally we've seen almost all of them, almost all the greats. We can sort of see them as a junior, as a youth, somewhere there. Even Paul Tergat, who started when he got into the army, you could see it from 22. How did we miss this young man until he got to age 18, age 19?
Okay, there's an emerging trend whereby young people go straight to the marathon, go straight to the roads, as opposed to going to the track and then graduating or transitioning from the track to the roads. So I think a number of them are still on the track and on the shorter courses, and they haven't yet really, jumped into the deep end, which is the marathon. So I think we have more Kiptums out there.
And yes. That's A. B, yes. I believe there's so much talent, but there's not much systems in place to get to nurture and harness this talent, to get them. Because if you look at the trials, for example, or the championships, the local championships,
yes.
200 people turn up per race. The first 3 are selected. What happens to the 197 that are not selected? Where do they go to? There's not much. So some end up in Bahrain. You saw the lady who won the 3,000 meters. Was
Wilfred.
Bahrain, yes.
Yeah, but you saw her as a junior.
My point is, she's running for Bahrain maybe because she couldn't get a chance in Team Kenya.
She's actually one of the reasons they changed the entire rules of changing citizenship was because of her, because she changed when she was very young.
Yes.
My question was, look, we've got primary school meets, secondary school meets, Africa Junior, East Africa Junior, World Youth until 2018. For some reason, he just slipped through the cracks.
I agree. There's some question marks.
And then he just popped up, bang, 18, and just gone. And I'm like, maybe we need to change our system, because if you look at think about any all-time great. You could see them somewhere there. Oh, but then again, like you say, maybe it's marathon running, it's slightly different. Maybe, I don't know. But anyway, let's move this conversation, because it's not just in marathon.
I agree. You mentioned the system. Yes. If we don't have a system to identify them earlier, you see, did he avail himself to identify? We can't blame him for that.
No, we
so
can't.
There's nothing wrong for him to train in solitude and come out.
Pop up.
Yes,
nothing
and then
wrong
another
with
point
that.
is this.
I'll just allow me to say something maybe before you chip in. Maybe something different, but what is related to this. When I covered the 2014 FIVB Grand Prix in Mexico, and Kenya was playing against Croatia in volleyball, all the Croatian girls happened to be very tall. So some coach, a Kenyan coach, just picked up and told me, it's not by chance. Somebody took the trouble when they were still probably in primary school, selected the tallest girls, started training them. So you could see they're very good blockers.
Yes.
And you wonder, how are they all very tall? And then when you juxtapose with the Team Kenya, you find that some of them are very short in the Kenyan team. So you say, no, it's not by chance. Somebody took the trouble, somebody has been employed to go to primary school and pick the tallest girls. Now, unfortunately speaking, when you come to Kenya in the street, you'll find very tall girls, not in bad faith, probably hawking, probably doing something else, and probably they had that talent that was not identified at a very young age.
And directed towards where you wanted
towards
to
something
go.
else, or
That's
towards
why we
the
have
talent.
CBC. It used to be extra curriculum. Now it is part of the syllabus.
Yeah,
so we start identifying the likes of Kitum quite early, and nurture them, and they become the stars. There are many talents that have been wasted. You know, what drives people to do sports? Probably you may find they're running away from poverty. The level of motivation and role models are very minimal, if you look at it. A parent will tell you, oh, you know, you're struggling with school. Your neighbor dropped out of school, or maybe didn't go to school for a long time. And look, they've been running, they've been doing volleyball, they've been doing football, and they're living very well. See, things like that.
And then again, let's not forget. Yes, absolutely. Let's not forget about what we call opportunity pathways. Yeah, if we pick out a guy like Kipchoge, for example, we were very fortunate to meet up with the Patrick Sang when he was only 16 years old, and then Patrick, of course, worked with him. It was his mentor and his coach over the years, and he actually linked him up with a very reputable management company. So, same with Kiptum. Kiptum is fortunate enough to be in the stable of Golazzo, which is amazing. So it's all about opportunity as well. So
and when the opportunity comes,
yes, absolutely.
So for example, his comes slightly later. Some kids who did World Youth, World Junior, theirs comes later.
Absolutely.
So it's making the most of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And speaking of making the most of it, it's been a wonderful year as far as track and field is concerned, because so many records have been set. Like Coach Ben Ouma said here, Faith Kipyegon 2 world records this year. Women's 1500 meters, 3:49 is what she ran. And then she set the 5,000 meters. And then she set the mile. And then we turned to Jacob Ingebrigtsen. He set 2 world records. Girma from Ethiopia, he set 2 world records, 3,000 meters indoor, 3,000 meters steeplechase. Gentlemen, What is this that has changed? I know you guys are telling me, no, you know, the shoe is not so much. But guys, 1 year, those are almost 10 world records. This didn't happen 4 years ago, didn't happen 5 years ago. What's the flip? What's the change? Why are we seeing...
Why don't you look at it like coaches are working extra time? They're doing a very good job. Then is that rewarding us? Probably.
Exactly.
Don't blame the athletes. Blame us for working
hard. It's the coaches working hard.
Yeah. Why were you not working hard last year?
We had technology. Because when I look at it this way, we had a huge break of the COVID putting a pause on our system of operations. And we lost a lot of time, but people were still training individually. So if you look at the adaptation in training, this is now from the scientific perspective as well. This build-up, and then you can see these outbursts of people running so fast. You realize championships are very fast and very tough nowadays. Instead of those tactical approach into championship, people are now running at time. We need to ride this time, that time. Some of them, you could only see them in diamond leagues. Those times, now there's a replica of the same in championship running. So, and of course, personally, I changed the approach in 1500 meters. We are fit, we run fast.
Doha 2019.
Yes,
2019.
That's when it started.
Chariot, yeah.
And from 2019, people are now running fast. You need to give credit to us. To Timothy Chariot as well. For the consistency.
Because
he's the only athlete who has been the national champion from 2014 to date. And been winning medal from that day to date. People tend to look at the moment, but look at who has been there all along, who has been consistent.
Consistency.
Yes.
So the training improved. You spoke about the shoes. What about technology? What about something like the wave light? Yes. How much has that helped in terms of being able to break the world record? Because, guys, I cannot remember a time covering athletics where we had
this is our
7 world records
now
in 1 year.
From the perspective of performance science now. You see, in your body, the production of a lot of hormones. The dopamine, the cortisol. This, if can be manipulated, you're less stressed. Oh, I'm just following the light. I don't care about listening to my body that I have to run fast. I just glance at the light and moving. So the athletes are less stressed. They use stresses a lot, so they have a lot of time to improve on their time and they're running fast. That's one, the wavelength as well. Remember, we used to have pacemakers as well. Now they have both the pacemaker and the wave light. So the pacemaker is pulling you to run fast. The wave light is guiding you that you can even tell the pacemaker, oh, you are slowing down. I'll overtake you. So you see that. So it is less stress, people are relaxed and they're approaching competitions with ease.
In a word, gentlemen, starting with Robert, is it a good thing we're having this many world records go? Is it a good thing, is it a bad thing?
No, I would say it's very good for the sports, actually. It's very good for the sports. More and more people are going to the sport because of the rewards that come with it right now. Young people have actually had opportunities to make a living out of running because the rewards are actually better than before. So it's a good thing.
Kwalimo, good thing, bad thing that records are falling every so often?
Good thing, the excitement, the competition gets more stiff, and we keep speculating. Remember, we were talking about it on radio on Saturday about whether Kiptum will break the record or not. I said I think he'll win the race. He will not break the record. I was wrong, and hopefully I'll be right next time. So it's a very good thing. The competition goes up, and hopefully more and more Kenyans will come in and break this record.
I'll sum it up. I'm doing a research, I'm writing a research about the impact of financial rewards and the mediating factor of motivation. That is the key word. The book will be out. It's quite scientific.
Hope it's not very expensive.
That's Coach Ben Ouma, by the way, who's doing his PhD studies. And one of the things he's studying, like he said, it's all got to do with sports. It's got to do with psychology. Like you had, he's a coach. He has coached Timothy Chariot to a world championship and to an Olympic silver medal. So yes, he's a man who knows his way around athletics. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for a wonderful, wonderful conversation. We've got to move this on, Kwalimo, because the next beat is yours, because we always have shot of the weekend. This one came from a football game that was played this past weekend. It's by the Rising Starlets. They were up versus Angola.
Yes, versus Angola.
And that girl, I love that picture because of the sheer joy on her face.
Yes. Impressive. Vivian scored thrice. Kenya beat Angola 6-1. Of course, it's the qualification matches for the Africa Cup of Nations. More and more talent coming up. Remember, we've talked about women football in Kenya for a long time. It looks like if Kenya is going to have a football team at the World Cup, probably it's going to be the women before the men's team, because the women are doing wonders. Just the other day, of course, the women beating, was it Cameroon?
Yes.
In a historic qualification, and they're now a step to the Africa Cup of Nations. Now the under-20 are doing the trick. So kudos to Vivian, kudos to Madeira girls. Valerie.
Yes.
Kudos to Madeira girls, and kudos to the under-20 women team.
Yes, fantastic young girl. That one scored a hat-trick in only 22 minutes. Fantastic, and we hope she has such a bright future. Now, before we get to on the timeline, let's just see what was your feedback to our question of the day. Our question of the day was with regards to Kevin Kiptum. Is he the new king of marathon running? We already know what Coach Ben Ouma thinks. He's already said, you know what, guys, be easy, give it time. But what did you guys say? Let's just sample some of your thoughts and see exactly what happens. There we are. Leah Kasana saying being a king is not that easy, but yes, he is on his way. So that's a man who says, that's a lady who says, yes, we've started. And then Juvenal Habyarimana, marathon king, will be the one who runs under 2 hours. Until now, no human has ever done it, but congratulations to him. 2:00:35 is not a joke. Kolokoech, yes, because he is going to prove it. So, like you said, a lot of positivity. Mercy, consistency is the key. There is your coach. David, if you can help me out.
Yeah, and then there's Warren Binwala. Kiptum should be able to retain his momentum Dioitwe got. Otherwise, Kipchoge remains greatest of all. He seems to be agreeing with Coach Ben there. But since Amkutana, Bekele, Mofara, and many greatest, so Kiptum is not yet, he's still a little bit young. And then there's Mohamud Hassan. No doubt he will be, so he's not yet, but he will be according to Mohamud Hassan. He's only 23, and that tells you he'll conquer the world of marathon in the next coming years. Fair enough. Then there's Tony Johnson, brief, short and sweet. Let us wait for the Olympics.
Yes, that's a man who is saying he's still not convinced. He's like, you know what, is it? The king is in on. Yes?
Titles. Running is about titles.
It's not about the world record.
Titles will be there to stay.
The record goes.
Record goes.
The titles are called hardware.
Those are the hardware.
The records are called
softwares. To entertain people.
Before we turn this into a nice city session, let's turn to on the timeline, because like we say, we pick you some of the interesting things that have happened throughout the week, and then we let you see a bit funny side to it. And let's start off with our local league, with the FKFPL. On the timeline now, there was a game on Friday, and Kwalimwa Shabana.
Yep.
Yes.
Beating Tusker.
Yes.
A result that nobody expected, because Shabana struggled.
Yes.
And then Shabana come up on their Twitter page and says, Sherehe niku
Lewa na marafiki.
Of course, Tusker is sponsored by a beer company. So Shabana just having a dig at Tusker that this is fun, and it's because Tusker is involved.
I like the banter bit of it. Sherehe ni kulewa na marafiki. You know, because if you remember that advert for Tusker, there used to be an advert similar that one. I think that's where they were going. Now, that was the game on Friday. On Saturday, we had the Mashemeji Derby. Kogalo versus Ingwe. Gor Mahia versus AFC Leopards. And Kogalo Kolimo decided not to be left behind.
Yes, that's a picture of a leopard inside a hole and saying Mambo iko hivi. Of course, leopards will not be seeing the funny side of that. But Gor are just saying we've managed to more or less bury the leopard. And yes, that was what the scoreline suggests.
I'm assuming Coach Ben Ouma likes that one.
Yeah, but you said something about football and athletics.
Yes.
You see, football is a local to entertainer. Athletics is international as well. So you don't compare the two.
It's apples and oranges.
Yes.
Kila mtu kwa lane yake. Speaking of lanes, the Champions League was on, and Manchester United were playing Galatasaray at home. The results didn't go the way United wanted to go, and Kwalimwa, Galatasaray with again another cheeky tweet. There they are, us leaving Manchester United, the picture of a girl who's got a cheeky, mischievous smile, and then you can see what's happening at Old Trafford.
Yes, and Manchester United, of course, had a week to forget, save for the weekend when they bounced back, losing to Galatasaray at home. Definitely it was fireworks for Galatasaray, because they had not won in England for a whole very many years, and now they're saying we've left Manchester on fire, deservedly so.
So from the Champions League to Serie A, because again AC Milan were out in action, they were away from home, and then their keeper was sent off in added time. A player went into goal, Kwalima, Olivier Giroud went into goal. He made one save, and in the end, it made the headlines because every time an outfield player goes into goal, it's interesting how they're able to maneuver.
And I have to say it was a good save. Player on Giroud. He's a striker coming back to goal to bail out his team. Good enough for him, and making the save as well, making sure Milan gets something from the game. It was worth a mention.
Reminds me of the time Denis Oliech went in goal. Was it Kenya versus Zimbabwe? Last few minutes when Arnold Origi got injured, and then Denis Oliech put on the gloves and went in goal, and we love Denis Oliech. That put him even higher in terms of how people just cheered him going back in goal. But let's move on from there and continue with on the timeline. The next one, it's all about, let's go. It's all about Erling Haaland. Now, why Erling Haaland? Arsenal played Man City on Sunday night, and in the end, this tweet by TalkSport, did Erling Haaland even play? Kwalimwa, it's a slight dig at him, and you can understand why.
Yeah, because he had a very poor game by his own standards. He had very few touches on the ball, did not threaten the opposing goalkeeper. Remember, he's one of the best strikers in England right now, best strikers in the world. But showing his heat map, apart from not even threatening goal, it doesn't seem like he really helped his team much. So, yeah, a good question there if he even played, because he was not felt at all in the game.
And our final one, our last one, is got to do with Formula 1. Of course, Formula 1 was big this weekend because Max Verstappen won his third title. But whatever caught our eyes was that moment between Russell and Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton walking over and apologizing to George Russell. They'd had a crash on the track.
Yeah, good enough. It's a game. It's a sport. You can get a lot of rivalry when the game is on, but when the game is off, it's hands up, shake hands, give a small hug to each other, congratulate each other. The winner, the loser, move on. So that was a very good tinge of sportsmanship from Hamilton. Especially from teammates, because they are both teammates.
Yes. So Lewis Hamilton was like, my bad, I take fault. And this doesn't happen often. I saw somewhere like this was only the 6th time he's not finished a race. He's had to crash out. So really, really good driver. But like you said, good moment for teamwork right there.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. So that's where we end the show. Once again, gentlemen, thank you so much. Do you have a final word? Let me start with Robert.
Thanks so much for having me, and let's keep it athletics.
Coach Ben Ouma, we've seen a wonderful year of athletics. We've seen wonderful records set. We've seen the likes of Tigista Sefa, Kevin Kiptum. What would be your parting shot?
Yeah, thank you very much, Wakabi, for having me and having my colleague as well. I'm happy, and I want to give accolade to Federation Athletics Kenya and to congratulate the President, General Tue, for being the Vice President of World Athletics. That cannot go without being mentioning as well. Now the season is starting this weekend with cross-country in Machakos. Then we'll go to the western side. So we're asking athletes and fans to train and run clean. I know the youth committee as well, led by Bana Bakori, is working so hard to set system in identifying young talents. So the likes of Kiptum will not slip away. We'll get them early, so then you'll have records for them on the junior stages as well.
My parting shot is 5,000, 10,000 meters, coach. You said you're working very hard. Please work very hard on that. Kenya doesn't seem to be doing very well in these two particular disciplines.
We are doing very well. You saw what happened in Budapest. We got medals in 5 and 10. And I hope the government as well is going to support and do something, because you can only hold us accountable if you invested in us. The cost of one medal is quite a lot. The minimum is maybe $50,000 US, a medal, one medal, regardless of silver or what. I did a research about that, and I think there is a budget somewhere through Athletics Kenya with the government into strategies that Athletics Kenya is taking to Paris 2024 to give us 10 gold medals.
10.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Coach Ben. Thank you so much, Robert. As always, Kwalimu, asante sana. You've heard it there from the coach. You need $50,000 to get a medal at an Olympics or a World Championship. So, siya sababu na mwamba, no pressure. Paris is coming. We know what the budget is. Hopefully we get it. Hopefully we get the medals. Good night, and thank you for watching.